All right, welcome to my cordless power tools review. What I've got lined up here for you is some of the top brands of cordless power tools and a detailed comparison of the specifications and features on each of these. So what I did is I went into Home Depot. I said I want to buy a drill. Now, it turns out that to buy a single drill, you end up paying about $150. So, what they had for the Black Friday this year was a combo deal where you could buy a set of tools, such as this here, and pay $199. You get the radio for free, you get this extra handle, and you get the impact driver for a small bit more. The other thing that you get for buying this is you get $50 off toward another purchase. And so I figured, well, um, why not get a circular saw? You're going to build shelves, boxes, whatever it may be. You're going to need a circular saw. So that's what I wanted to do. Now, I went right into Home Depot and walked out with the Ridgid kit. Now, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, and when I got home, I thought, oh man, I've got 90 days to return this. Maybe I should consider buying something else. So what I went ahead and did was a comparison of all of these other brands. And now the first thing that I was looking at when I was in Home Depot is they had a very similar Milwaukee kit, and I had heard a lot of really positive information about Milwaukee's and their performance. So I figured, pay a little bit more money, take the Ridgid back, get the Milwaukee. The Milwaukee doesn't have as many cool features, but it's a higher quality drill. It's going to be a better buy. Spend the extra money. What ended up turning out after I did all the number crunching was very interesting. I'm going to show you guys the other brands that I have here. Porter cable, they weren't available through Home Depot, so I went to Lowe's. You can see the prices, you can see what they look like here online. All the specifications are listed. We've got DeWalt. I heard a lot of really great things about DeWalt's. They're well known in the professional industry. Carpenters, construction workers, a lot of them really swear by DeWalt. Makita is the same thing. Here's their circular saw, and Milwaukee. So, if somebody were to say, what are the professional drills? They're going to say DeWalt, Milwaukee, and Makita. Now, Porter Cable and Ridgid are considered the consumer brands. They're, not for the professionals. They're typically marketed, at least, toward the people who are going to use them for, at-home use or just for miscellaneous projects. So on top of getting information from both Home Depot and Lowe's, I also went to Cordless Drills Reviews, and they've got nearly all these drills and all the specifications. They've got this nice color chart telling you, where everything fits. Now, I didn't know exactly, some of the model numbers on these drills are not the exact same as the ones that are sold at Home Depot. I think these might be last year's models, but they're essentially the same exact drills. And I'm going to show you an example of let me see, what did I do there? Okay. Of what I mean. So we've got the Ridgid. This is the R86008K. Now if you come over here, it's the same drill, but basically it doesn't have the K. It's the R86008. And it was the same for the Milwaukee. It's basically the same exact thing, that 26001-22, except for the one sold at Home Depot is 2601-20. So I'm not sure what the difference is, but they appear to have nearly the identical specifications, so I went with it. Now, what I did to assimilate all this information is I got onto Excel and I made a spreadsheet. So here's what I came up with. I've already itemize these in terms of rank. Now, on the left, we've got Ridgid, Porter Cable, DeWalt, Makita, and Milwaukee. And I'm going to walk you through everything that I did so you'll see and you'll understand why each of these got the ranking that they did. Let's start with torque. Well, first, let's look at the rating. I did a hard rating and a soft rating for positive, and a hard rating and a soft rating for negative. So anything that's got a hard, a darker color is going to be 1 point. Anything that's got a solid red color is going to be -1 point, and anything that's soft green or soft red is going to be either positive or negative ½ a point. So let's start out with torque. We've got 535 inch-pounds for Ridgid. They lead the torque all across the board in these companies. The worst is Porter Cable, 330 unit watts out. DeWalt has 350 unit watts out, Makita 480 inch-pounds, and Milwaukee 425 inch-pounds. Now, I have really no idea what a unit watt out is compared to an inch-pound, but the way that I gauged this was by going over to this website. I looked at Porter Cable. Here's their 330 unit watts out, and they rank that as poor. Now, I assume that this Cordless Drills Reviews has some way to convert this, and that they've done that and established that this is a poor power rating. And the same thing with the DeWalt. You can see here the power is slightly higher than the Porter Cable, but they only rank it as fair. And it's the same thing with the Ridgid. They get a better torque rating, and the Makita a better torque rating as well, and the Milwaukee gets a good torque rating. And basically this is a reflection of that. So RPM, DeWalt, their drills spin 600 RPMs in the first gear and 2,000 RPMs in the second gear. That is awesome. So +1 for them. Milwaukee, they have the worst, 350 for first gear and 1,400 for the second gear. Moving on to battery, I didn't do any hard scores in battery. I basically gave Makita a ½ a point on both the batteries for the impact driver and the drill, just for having kind of a class leading benefit right there. But all across the board, we've got 1.5 amp hour batteries. So not a big deal that Makita is including a 3 amp hour battery, but significant enough that I think they deserve 1 point for that. Let's do clutch position. Porter Cable with a 23 position clutch, they get a +1 point, and DeWalt gets a -1 point for only having a 15 position clutch. Now, I'm not sure exactly how the clutch systems work, but you know, I assume that maybe Porter Cable has this 23 position clutch because their drill is so weak. You know, you're going to need more variability in there to be able to operate this weaker drill. Now, that said, we've got the 15 position clutch for DeWalt, and they're the second weakest drill with only the 350 unit watts out. So in that case, this doesn't bode well for DeWalt. They're not doing well on that. So let's look at weight. Ridgid, 3.13 pounds. This is the actual weight that I weighed at home with my very accurate bike scale, and that's the exact weight with the battery. Now over here we've got the measurement for Milwaukee without the battery, and it comes in at 4.3 pounds. So it's almost double the weight without the battery. So that's terrible for Milwaukee. You know, they almost deserve a -2 points on that, but I guess some people might argue that they, you know, like a heavier drill or that it's more heavy duty, but I think a lightweight drill is a positive, especially if you're going to be using it a lot. Especially as a professional, you got to carry that thing around. You're putting in a lot of screws. You know, you don't want to wear yourself out. So, chuck. All of the drills had plastic chucks except for Porter Cable. It's my understanding that a plastic chuck reduces weight on a drill. Now, Porter Cable has the metal chuck, but they don't have any weight issues at 3.5 pounds with the battery. That's really great, and they've also got this extra durability feature, whereas none of the rest do. So +1 for Porter-Cable on that. Length, this is compact. This is how compact is your drill. So 7.5 inches for the Ridgid and 7.5 inches for the Daywall. I went ahead and gave these guys a tie for 1 point here, and I think they deserve that because compactness is an important feature. Both of them have that. Now Makita is only, or has a 8.125 inch drill. Now that's quite large compared to the rest of these. It's not a compact drill. But if you come down here, you realize that their drill is not a compact drill. It is actually a hammer drill, and it's competing in the same class as all the rest of these. It's very cheap, and for a hammer drill, normally you're going to pay close to $300 for just the hammer drill, not including the impact driver and the circular saw. So they've got a great deal going on here with that, but some of their other features land them where they are. Let's look at the impact drivers. We've got torque. Ridgid takes it away. They are far above the rest of the competition with 1,750 inch-pounds of torque on their impact driver. You've also got Porter-Cable with 1,450 inch-pounds, Daywalt with 1,400 inch-pounds, Makita with 1,420 inch-pounds, and Milwaukee with 1,400 inch-pounds. So because these are so close in here, I didn't give anybody a solid negative point. I just gave some soft half points there. Impacts per minute. Same thing here. All of these are pretty close. I gave Ridgid and Porter-Cable -0.5 a point for being just below what seems to be the industry standard, which is 3,200 impacts per minute. Battery, same thing as we talked about, 0.5 point for Makita. Weight, same thing as with the drill. Ridgid has a very light unit, Milwaukee a very heavy unit. This is 3.1 pounds without the battery, which is heavier than the Ridgid with the battery. That said, Milwaukee is going to be a really heavy tool, and probably not comfortable to carry around for a long period of time. Let's look at circular saws. RPMs. That's important when you're cutting. 5,000 RPMs for the Ridgid, and not surprising, Milwaukee comes in last at 3,500 RPMs. Weight, same thing. We got 6.2 pounds without the battery. This, again, I weighed at home myself, and here we have 8 pounds without the battery. Now, this weight I extrapolated from the box weight from the website. I basically went and looked at the box weight for the Ridgid circular saw, which was 7.2 pounds from the Home Depot website. And since I weighed the thing in at 6.2 pounds, I basically extrapolated and took 1 pound off of the box weight listed from the Home Depot website for the Milwaukee circular saw, and came in at approximately 8 pounds, which is very heavy and not surprising considering the rest of these specifications. So, cut depth. We've got Porter-Cable with +1. Their unit can cut to 2.125 inches, and Makita gets -1 for having 1.562 inches. Now, with these size of circular saws, you're probably not going to cut anything thicker than a 2x4, and I know that not all 2x4s are actually 2 inches. They're really more like 1.5 inches, but you might be cutting it close with the Makita to actually cut through a 2x4. That's just barely going to cut it for you, whereas the Porter-Cable is going to slice right through it, and all the rest of these are going to cut through them, but that is what it is. It looks like 1.625 is kind of the standard, and Porter-Cable's exceeded that, and Makita has not. So let's look at some of the accessories and other specifications. We've got the volts. All the drills are 18 volts except for the Porter-Cable and the Daywalt, so I give them -0.5 point for that. We've got the handle. Ridgid comes with an extra kind of an impact drill handle, which is great. Makita doesn't come with an impact drill handle, and they have an impact drill. So that doesn't quite make sense to me, but I think that that's a nice feature whether you're doing impact drilling or just regular drilling. It's nice to have that, so +1 for Ridgid there. Bumpers. There's a lot of explanation here. You're using your tool a lot. You're carrying it around, you're having it at work sites, it's rolling around in your bag, it's in the back of your truck. You want that thing protected. You know, you're setting it down on concrete. The Ridgid tool is fully bumpered from head to toe. The thing is very protected. If you look at the Dewalts, they have no bumpering on their battery pack and very minimal bumpering on the actual head of the unit. Coming over here to Milwaukee, they had some good bumpering on the battery pack, but even worse than Dewalt, they had almost no bumpering on the head of the unit. Makita had good bumpering on the head of the unit, but no bumpering on the battery pack. And then Porter Cable had pretty nice all-around bumpering, but it just wasn't quite as robust as the Ridgid, so they get a ½ point there. Belt clips. All these drill kits include 2 belt clips. When you're climbing on a ladder, you don't want to be setting your drill down, trying to balance it on the top of the ladder, risking it falling off. You want to be able to hang it securely in your pants. Now, Milwaukee only includes 1 belt clip, and I think that that's a really negative feature that they have there. They should include 2 belt clips. They're really leaving you hanging. So negative ½ point for them. And bit clips and bits. When you're using your drill, you want a bit on hand. You don't want to be digging around in your bag for a bit, digging around in your toolbox. It's nice to just have a bit right on hand. And these companies don't have any bit clips, so negative ½ point there. Now, these companies actually do have a bit and a bit clip, whereas the Dewalt has a bit clip but doesn't come with a bit, so you got to find your own. So that is what it is. All soft points on those. We have case. Makita, the only company that comes with a hard case. I think that that's a huge advantage. When you're throwing your gear around, when you have it stored in your garage, when it's in the back of your truck, you want your power tools protected. You don't want them getting knocked around. The hard case will do that. The soft cases, not so much. So solid 1 point for Makita there. Hammer feature, that's another solid 1 point. And then last but not least, we have the warranty. And Ridgid provides a lifetime warranty. That's best in class. Solid green, 1 point for them. And then the Milwaukee, they have a 5-year warranty. Now, all their specifications through here don't really compete, but they're willing to stand behind their product. So I think that that's interesting. They deserve a ½ point on that one, and that's going to lead into something I'll talk about later. Let's look at cost. Class leading, surprisingly, is the consumer-based products. You got Ridgid and Porter Cable right here with the best prices, and then you got Dewalt, Makita, and Milwaukee. Now, you've got the best drills with the cheapest prices, and then you've got the worst drills over here with the most expensive prices. Now, both Dewalt and Makita come in at the same exact price, and Milwaukee comes in kind of right in between, the others. The rating I gave here is a positive 1 point for Porter Cable, and I gave 2 negative solid points for Dewalt and Makita for being the most expensive, and then ½ a negative point for Milwaukee and ½ a positive point for Ridgid, coming in at 248 for the whole kit. And adding up all the points here, we've got all the greens and the reds itemized and added up. Ridgid comes in with a positive 11 points. That's huge above the competition. Their products are, just miles ahead. Can't say enough about it. Let's look at Porter Cable to come in at a positive 5.5. And then, out of the ballpark here, as far as features and specifications, it's like Dewalt, Makita, and Milwaukee just lagging behind. They've got negative 0.5 for Dewalt and negative 1 for for Makita and a -7 for Milwaukee. So that's how it pans out, and I think that this is very interesting considering what I was told about which drills to get originally. I was told if you want a quality drill, get DeWalt, Makita, or Milwaukee. Now, when it comes down to the actual specifications, it really looks like you're going to get a better unit from Porter-Cable or Ridgid, or at least, you know, better features. Now, that said, I just have to also say that this chart doesn't reflect quality. Now, it does reflect specifications and features. It is possible that even though Ridgid has a 535 inch-pound drill, that drill might not last very long, although it does have a lifetime warranty, so according to them, you'd be able to bring it back. Now, if Milwaukee, it's slow, it's heavy, it doesn't have much power, but it's built solid, it's gonna last, you're gonna be able to have it for 5 years, and it you know, the actual field application of the Milwaukee is great, then that is something to consider, and that's something that I haven't tested in this review. This is purely based on specifications. So I went ahead and set up the Ridgid kit in the other room. I've got that to show you guys, and so stick around for the next part of this video review, and we'll see what those Ridgid tools look like.